Hello, so in this brief session I'm just going to be talking through a guide to using GCSE Pod but for parents. So a bit of insight into what GCSE Pod is, how our students are using it and what resources are available on this platform for Year 10 and 11 students in the lead up to trial exams and GCSE exams of course. So GCSE Pod helps your child to accelerate progress and raise results, consolidate subject knowledge and improve their recall on a load of different subjects, and improve engagement and encourage independent learning. Personally, I find GCSE Pod particularly effective for those students who struggle to know where to revise, how to get started, because it's a platform that's there for students to access and it's ready-made revision resources that are really effective and really do have a big impact on results. When used effectively, GCSE Pod has been proven to have a big impact on final grades. It is a resource that's used all over the country in schools that invest in this. And the data from over 2,200 students shows that higher GCSE Pod users are more likely to exceed their predicted grades by a larger margin than those who don't use GCSE Pod. High academic year usage yielded a greater impact than high usage just in the exam period. So those students who are using it throughout the course of year 11, obviously it has a much bigger impact than just using it to watch a few videos or pods in the lead up to the GCSE exams in the summer. And on average, highest users received 3 grades higher across their subjects than they were predicted, which is a massive impact. What's included in GCSE Pod? Okay, so independent learning and revision materials is what GCSE Pod is all about. It has resources for over 27 GCSE subjects and it's an ever-growing forum. They have exam board specific playlists, so we can really ensure that students are only learning the content that they need for their exams. So they can click into AQA, maths as an example, so they're only covering content that will be on their exam board. They can access it via a computer, their phone or a tablet. I've really been promoting the app for GCSE Pod because I think it's a really good on-the-go way that students can be incorporating some revision into their routine. The apps are available for all phones. They have different apps for different types of phone. I've got it on an iPhone and it's a really seamless, really well working app. And in terms of what's included in it, the way that GCSE Pod works is each topic contains a playlist. These playlists are about 3 to 5 minutes long and they're videos that they call pods. The pods contain keywords, facts, quotes and labelled diagrams for full understanding. So it will talk each student through whatever that topic is. It can be watched online or downloaded for offline viewing, kind of like Netflix. So if you're maybe getting the bus to school or something like that, you can pre-download these playlists so you don't need internet access to get to this material. It'll be saved in your area, a bit like on Netflix or on Spotify. And students can actually organise the pods that are available to them into their own playlists. You can favourite pods that you want to return to. Again, like YouTube or Spotify, it's been created to be very similar to these apps that we know a lot of our students are using to try and encourage that engagement. And we have what we call exam-specific revision on here. So each upcoming exam has a corresponding playlist to go along with it. The exam playlists contain all the pods relevant to that specific paper. So you can click into your biology paper 1 as an example, and it will only have the material that's going to be on that specific exam paper. They have an exam timetable with all of the exam dates on there for the specific exams as well, which again will help our students creating those effective revision timetables that I mentioned in one of the other sessions that you'll be engaging with today. In terms of how it can be also used in school, a lot of staff in school use GCSE Pod on an assessment basis or use it for homework tasks as well. So assignments can be set by teachers and completed on any device, and the students get instant results from completing those assignments. If a student completes an assignment set by a teacher or one off their own back that they've picked to do, and they don't get 100% in that assignment, what I think the cleverest thing about GCSE Pod is that the forum then creates what we call a boost playlist. This is automatically generated and it contains videos to help and identify those knowledge gaps. So if you complete an assignment and you get a couple of questions wrong, you get less than 100%, a playlist specifically tailored to that student will be created to recover that material that maybe they've just got some gaps in and they could do with having another look at, which is really effective. So you're only revising what you need to revise. You're not revising what you already know, you're looking at the areas that you're not so sure on. So how to ensure that your child benefits from GCSE Pod? It can be used anywhere and anytime. So other students have said, GCSE Pod is really handy because you can listen to the videos on the school bus in the morning, and there's a whole host of resources available there. When you go into the shops, it can be used at school, in the car. You could even just listen to the audio when you're doing something like a paper round or walking the dog. Obviously at home, you can use it to really focus your revision where you are listening to a pod and making notes on it, in any setting. So GCSE Pod is a really good revision resource because it's unlike your traditional revision, it's accessible anywhere. And we can maximise that learning time at home. So as you can see here in terms of the data, if your child is stuck on a homework, they can search for the relevant GCSE Pod video using the search bar at the top, and a pod will pop up relating to that content. You could encourage your child to watch a pod video rather than Googling the answer to a question. I cannot stress this enough. What we do find is a lot of students will Google the answers to exam questions and come up with something completely unrelated to the topic because Google doesn't know what subject you're studying. So using your GCSE Pod login as your go-to for that, again, which is why it's good to have the app on your phone, is a really effective strategy. Listen to pods together and test each other on what you've learned is a much more involved way of using the app. Using the pods to brush up on your knowledge to help with homework is another effective strategy. Overall, GCSE Pod has a lot of resources on there. You can watch it online or offline. So again, like I said, you can download the pods to a mobile device before travelling. And therefore you can make what would normally be wasted time into productive learning time. Creating playlists using the My Playlist area to create bespoke playlists on topics that students may find challenging. This gives fast access to pods, and again, it just makes revision easier. If we can make revision as easy as possible, it's going to encourage a lot more of our students to build up the amount of revision that they're doing. Using memory cards. So this is an effective strategy that a few of my students have used, where you can watch a pod and then create flashcards or memory cards relating to the key fact, dates, diagrams or quotes, and then you can test your knowledge on what you've learned using those memory cards. If students were to have a look at purchasing GCSE Pod privately, it would cost around £200 a year. So I just wanted to show you that really to show how good this resource is. It's a free access that we have through school because we buy into it because of the amazing resources that are on there. In terms of the advantages of using GCSE Pod and how it can help your child, it makes learning and revision much more manageable. Like I mentioned previously, for students who don't know where to start, how to get going with revision, or who tend to just sit and read exercise books or read notes, GCSE Pod is a really good starting point. It enhances subject knowledge recall. It allows you to get involved with your child progress. You can go on the statistics and see how many pods have been watched, how much time has been spent on GCSE Pod, which subjects your child is studying the most on GCSE Pod. It improves your child's confidence and motivation, particularly with those subjects that they're struggling with. There are pre-made exam playlists which help to organise revision. And it takes that stress out of learning. If we can remove that, how do I revise? We can really get going with some revision. And just as a sort of final note, really, dual coding is a bit of research that's been done that indicates why students get better results with the help of GCSE Pod. Because GCSE Pod combines both words and visuals, it leads to stronger recall. A lot of our students tend to just revise using one of these methods, usually writing notes. And although that is effective, dual coding is a much more effective way to ensure that the amount that students are able to recall is increased, because we've got the interaction via the video and the audio, and if they're taking that step further and making notes or making flashcards based on that, that revision is amplified. So in terms of accessing GCSE Pod, all year 10 and 11 students have a login and have access to GCSE Pod, and please remind them that they can come and find me at any stage if they're struggling to get onto it. If you go to gcsepod.com, your child, if they have an account, can simply log in using their username and password, or they could click New Here, Get Started if they haven't activated their account yet. They enter their name, the name of the school, and they'll be up and running within a few seconds. If you want to find out more about GCSE Pod and access any more information on how it can support your child with their GCSEs, you could go to www.gcsepod.com/parents, and there's a lot of really interesting resources on there on structuring revision and guides for parents about how to support students through this difficult time. I hope you found that useful. I hope if you didn't know anything about GCSE Pod, it sort of opened our eyes to what is available to our students here at Knutsford. So all students have had a sort of refresher on GCSE Pod this week during form time. So hopefully we can encourage them to get using it and using it for their revision in the lead up to their trial exams. Thank you so much for listening, and again, I hope you found it useful.